Inside the walls of the British monarchy, an old rule has always held. When the family is divided, the working royals close ranks in public and settle everything else behind closed doors. But this year, that rule is being tested. According to multiple reports now circulating in the British press, Princess and the late Queen's only daughter and one of the most disciplined, least dramatic figures the royal family has ever produced, is said to be at odds with parts of her own family. The reported flashpoint? The treatment of her nieces, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. If even a fraction of what's being claimed is accurate, this would mark one of the most unusual rifts to touch the modern monarchy in years. Not a scandal involving money or romance or betrayal, but something quieter and in some ways more serious. A disagreement, allegedly, over loyalty itself. So what exactly is being reported? Who stands where? And how much of it can we actually confirm? Stay with us. We're going to walk through this story carefully, separating what palace insiders are claiming from what is actually known. Before we go further, it's worth understanding exactly who we're talking about, because Princess is not a royal who courts attention. She has spent decades doing the opposite. She is the second child of Queen Elizabeth II and the only sister of King Charles III. She has been a member of the British royal family since her birth in 1950, and she has held the title of Princess Royal since 1987. Her reputation has been built almost entirely on work. She has carried out more than 20,000 official engagements since she began royal duties in 1968, and in December 2017, it was reported that she had completed more official engagements that year than any other member of the royal family, including the Queen herself. In 2024 alone, and carried out 474 royal engagements, and that included a period when she was hospitalized after a concussion. King Charles, by comparison, completed 372 engagements that same year. She has also, at points, shown she is willing to push back, even on her own family. Sources close to and have said she would like to see Prince William take on more of what's called the bread-and-butter royal engagements, the unglamorous, recurring duties that keep the institution running. One specific frustration reported in the press: investitures, which mainly take place at Windsor Castle, close to where William and Catherine live, are still mostly being carried out by, and even though William lives nearby. That detail matters. It tells us that even before this year's headlines, there was reported tension. Not a feud, not a rupture, but a long-standing, very British kind of friction. The kind built on duty, and who's doing enough of it. Royal commentators have long described and as the family's anchor. According to reports from royal watchers, she's seen as the relative King Charles can lean on to help steady the throne, while the institution adjusts to a new reign. So when reports started suggesting that this same steady, dutiful princess was now clashing with parts of her family, people took notice. Here is where we have to slow down and be precise, because this is where confirmed fact ends and tabloid sourcing begins. According to a report from Radar Online, picked up and repeated by other outlets, Princess is said to be growing increasingly frustrated over how Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are being treated within royal circles. Treatment some sources link to the continuing fallout from their father, Prince Andrew, and his connection to the late convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. An anonymous source quoted in that reporting put it bluntly, and is described as someone who does not back down once she has decided a principle is at stake, and is now said to be, in the source's words, essentially at war with many other royals over the issue. That is a dramatic claim, and it's important to say clearly, this comes from a single anonymous source, relayed through a tabloid outlet. It has not been confirmed by Buckingham Palace, and no senior royal has commented on it publicly. The same reporting claims something else, that those close to and say she has no intention of staying silent if she believes her nieces are being unfairly sidelined. So what, according to these reports, is actually happening to Beatrice and Eugenie? Separate reporting, this time from IB Times UK, again citing unnamed insiders, claims the sisters have quietly disappeared from events they used to attend. The same reports allege Beatrice, 37, and Eugenie, 36, were barred from joining the wider family at Royal Ascot earlier this year, despite the event traditionally welcoming extended royal relatives, and that more recently, They were notably absent from the Chelsea Flower Show, an engagement they had attended in previous years. There are also claims circulating about their housing. According to Radar Online's reporting, King Charles has reportedly ordered palace aides to review which family members are living in royal properties, with one palace aide allegedly telling the outlet that accommodation arrangements currently enjoyed by Beatrice and Eugenie are not being treated as a permanent entitlement. The same source reportedly insisted this wasn't punitive. Those involved are said to insist this is not about punishing either princess, but instead reflects a wider reassessment of how royal properties are allocated as the king plans for the institution's future. Notice the pattern here. Every single claim in this section is attributed to an anonymous insider, a palace aide who isn't named, or a source speaking to a tabloid. None of it has been confirmed on the record, and so far, neither Buckingham Palace nor Kensington Palace has issued any statement addressing these specific claims. That doesn't mean the reports are false. It means, simply, that we cannot treat them as fact. They sit in the realm of according to reports, and that's exactly how we have to leave them until something changes. So where in all of this does Prince William actually stand? This is where the reporting becomes even more tangled because different outlets are telling, in some cases, contradictory stories. On one side, some reports allege that William has taken a harder line than his father on Andrew's daughters. Coverage from IB Times UK references claims of William wanting their, in the words of one headline, heads on a chopping block, and separate reporting alleges that William and Catherine deliberately kept their distance from Beatrice and Eugenie at a recent royal wedding. On the other side, other reporting paints an almost opposite picture of William's relationship with his aunt. According to one royal expert quoted by Fox News, Princess and remains, in this expert's words, most supportive of Prince William's future as king, admiring what the expert described as his sense of duty and his commitment to family life, in contrast to some previous heirs to the throne. That same expert suggested as William grows further into his role, the two may end up working more closely together, particularly around ceremonial duties at Windsor, while also noting a balance has to be struck between William's current focus on his young family and the more traditional, full calendar approach, and has always taken. So which version is true? Is Anne quietly frustrated with William over his workload? Is she his closest ally heading toward his future reign? Is she furious with the wider family over how Beatrice and Eugenie are being treated, with William cast as one of the people pushing them out? Here is the honest answer. Based on what's publicly available right now, we cannot say definitively. These are separate strands of reporting from separate outlets, built on separate anonymous sources, published at different points across the year. They have not been knitted together into one confirmed narrative by the palace, because the palace, as is almost always the case with family matters, has said nothing at all. What we can say is this: multiple, independent threads of reporting all point toward the same underlying theme. A royal family quietly working through how to handle the fallout from Prince Andrew, with reportedly different views among senior royals about how far that fallout should reach. To understand why any of this is happening at all, we need to step back and look at the bigger picture, because the reported tension around Beatrice and Eugenie doesn't exist in isolation. It's tied to the ongoing, very serious situation involving their father. Pressure on Prince Andrew has intensified this year, following his arrest in February on suspicion of misconduct in public office, linked to his time as the UK's trade envoy. Thames Valley Police have reportedly renewed calls for witnesses to come forward as part of a wider investigation. Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing, and no conclusions have been reached. Reports suggest the family's response to Andrew has not been unified. Most family members are described as having effectively cut ties with him, though Andrew is said to retain some sympathy from his siblings, Princess and Prince Edward. One widely circulated claim, again sourced anonymously, alleges Andrew has grown increasingly angry over how he's been treated by relatives and has privately suggested that senior royals, including King Charles and Prince William, may one day regret turning their backs on him. It's worth pausing here to underline something important. This is an explosive allegation attributed to a single unnamed source. It has not been verified, and Andrew has not addressed it directly in any verified, on-record way that we can point to. We mention it only because it forms part of the broader reporting landscape, not because we can confirm it happened. What is more solidly reported is the atmosphere this has created. According to that same IB Times UK coverage, the wider family is portrayed as increasingly united around one goal, putting as much distance as possible between the institution of the monarchy and Andrew. And it's against that backdrop, a family trying to protect the institution while managing the personal fallout for Andrew's own daughters, that the reported disagreements involving and the reported coolness from William are said to be playing out. Sometimes in royal reporting, the most ordinary family moments get reinterpreted through the lens of whatever tension is currently being discussed. And one recent event shows exactly how that works. On the 6th of June this year, Princess and son, Peter Phillips, married Harriet Sperling in a private ceremony at All Saints Church in the village of Kemble, in Gloucestershire. By most accounts, it was simply a family wedding, and, reportedly, in elegant yellow, was, as one outlet described her, a proud mother of the groom. But Beatrice and Eugenie's attendance at that same wedding was picked up by other outlets and given a very different framing. According to the Daily Mail, as referenced in IB Times UK's coverage, the two sisters were seen walking the full distance to the church entrance, rather than being driven up like other royal guests. And that detail was interpreted by that report as a deliberate attempt by the sisters to reassert their royal standing after months of reported turbulence surrounding their family. Whether that interpretation is accurate or simply a small detail stretched to fit a larger story is something we genuinely cannot tell you. It's a useful reminder of how royal reporting works. The same wedding, the same walk to the same church door, can become either a charming family photograph or a coded signal of defiance, depending entirely on which outlet and which anonymous source is doing the describing. So let's step back from the speculation and ground ourselves in what is genuinely confirmed. We know Princess and remains, by a wide margin, one of the hardest working members of the royal family, with a decades-long record of public service that speaks for itself. We know there is long-standing, reported friction over how royal duties are divided between her and Prince William, friction that predates any of this year's claims about Beatrice and Eugenie. We know Prince Andrew is facing a genuine criminal investigation, separate from any palace gossip, with real legal stakes. And we know that, as of today, neither Buckingham Palace nor Kensington Palace has issued any public statement addressing claims of a rift between and the wider family. What we don't know, and what nobody outside a very small circle currently knows, is whether Princess and is genuinely, as one report dramatically put it, at war with parts of her family. We don't know whether William's reported coolness toward his cousins is accurate, exaggerated, or simply one interpretation among several competing ones. And we don't know how or whether any of this will visibly surface the next time the working royals appear together in public. That distinction between what palace insiders are claiming and what the palace has actually confirmed is the difference between informed royal coverage and pure speculation. We've tried, throughout this piece, to keep you firmly on the right side of that line. There's something quietly fascinating about the gap between how this family is reported and how it actually behaves in public. If these reports are accurate, even partly, then what we're watching is something the royal family has always done well, managing real disagreement without ever letting the public see the seams. Princess, and whatever she may privately think, has continued turning up to her engagements. King Charles continues his official duties. William and Catherine continue theirs. No press conference, no statement, no visible crack in the formation. But that, in itself, raises the real question worth sitting with. In an age of constant scrutiny, where every walk to a church door gets a headline, and every empty seat at Ascot becomes a story, can any family, royal or otherwise, actually keep its private disagreements private? Or is the very act of trying to do so what now makes those disagreements look so dramatic to the rest of us? We'll continue following this story as it develops, and we'll bring you anything that moves from rumor into confirmed fact. In the meantime, here's the question we'll leave you with. Do you think Princess Anne's reported loyalty to her nieces says something admirable about family duty? Or do you think, in an institution built on unity, that kind of public-facing loyalty is exactly what causes these stories to spiral in the first place? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you want us to keep tracking this story, make sure you're subscribed because this one is far from over.